Welcome back, guys. We are here for week 3, our news episode, and let's not waste any time. Let's get straight into talking about this week's game. To start, let's just say we did it. We are now 3-0 to start the year, and honestly, it's just incredible. We were able to produce 400 offensive yards total on the day, nearly 100 more rushing yards than they were able to on the day. It was a pretty even game otherwise. We did have one extra turnover than they did, so that was something, and I was very proud that we overcame that. But honestly, we just had a lot of people step up when we needed them to, and our rushing game obviously was just dominant between Marlon Mack going off and Dameon Pierce still being great. It was incredible. As you can see by the scorebook, it was 10-7 after the first. Then we put on a field goal in the second. In the third, we actually got a safety and also a touchdown, so that was huge. And then in the fourth quarter, Chicago tried to make a comeback, but they just came up too short, too late. Now let's get into this player-specific stats. Let's talk about the passing game first, and Justin Fields did everything he possibly could. 120 passer rating, which is pretty good. 235 for 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, a long of 35. He did take 2 sacks on the day, and honestly, 86% completion percentage. He tried his best, as he's been doing all year, putting the team on his back. And they're just not helping him out when they need him to. For us, Davis Mills, he had 229 through the air, no touchdowns, 2 picks. We need to see better out of him. He's making bad decisions, just not making the right throws, and unfortunately, he got a long of 45 yards. That was a beautiful ball, but it's very great throw here, horrible throw here. We need some consistency with him. In the rushing game, Dameon Pierce, he ended up getting 15 attempts on the day after having a very slow start in attempts. He had 15 carries for 93 yards, 6.2 yards a carry, and 2 broken tackles on the day. So he had that one big run for 28. He had 28 yards after contact on the day, I'm sorry. His longest one was for 22. We had Marlon Mack, and Marlon Mack started off the game hot. He was getting all the carries, 9 carries, 84 yards, 9.3 a carry. He had 2 touchdowns on the day, 59 yards after contact. One of them was that huge 54-yard run where he laid everybody out. Justin Fields tried to pick up the pace for them rushing by getting 7 scrambles for 36 yards, 5 yards a carry. He did have the one huge fumble that set him back, got us an extra score at the end of the half. And then Khalil Herbert, he was filling in as the number 1 with David Montgomery out. He got 13 carries, 23 yards, only 1.8 a carry, and honestly, nothing much exciting. He was backed up by Ebner, who was actually getting playing time for once because obviously Montgomery was out. 5 carries for 3 yards, nothing special there. In the receiving game, let's talk about it. Deshaun Jackson. After us trading away Brandin Cooks, understanding that this team might not be great, understanding that he was in the prime of his career, he needed to be on a winning team, we sent him out to Miami, and Deshaun Jackson understood it's his opportunity to be that deep threat we all knew we needed. The number 1 guy for us. Deshaun Jackson, in his 14th year, 5 catches for 102 yards, 20 yards a catch, and it was just an incredible display. Obviously, that longest was that 45-yard bomb where he got just a step with his man on the release, and that's all he needed. He was matched on the other side by Emmanuel Sanders, who had 5 for 74, Darnell Mooney, who had 5 for 70, but it was just Deshaun Jackson produced when we needed him to. Cole Kmet was very key on a late drive to get them in range, to get them that onside kick, which if they would have got it, honestly, they probably would have won the game with the way the momentum was going. He had 4 for 66, 16.5. and a touchdown. A very, very big step up from him. Kyle Rudolph continues to be that guy as the backup tight end, showing Brevin Jordan how to produce in this league. 5 for 44, 8.8 per catch. Mechie, not as huge of an impact as he's had through the first 2 games, but 4 for 29, 7.3 a catch. You can't be mad about that. The touchdowns on the day, the 1 touchdown through the air from the Bears, one of them went to Cole Kmet, and the other one went to Dante Pettis. So, great work by everybody there. And Brevin Jordan, he also had 1 catch, 21 yards. That was huge for us. Nico Collins had 1 for 19. And Marlon Mack had 1 catch for 14 yards on the screen. When we talk about blocking real quick, Tevin Jenkins, he was the one who let up both sacks for them. They definitely need better out of him. But honestly, we're not going to complain about it because we got production off of that. That leads us to the defense. Leading the day on tackles, Eddie Jackson had 10. Chris Harris had 9. Alexander Johnson had 9. Tackles for loss, Jonathan Grenard led the way for both teams with 3 tackles for loss on the day. Then we had Chris Harris Jr., CJ Gardner-Johnson, and then Robert Quinn for them also had 2 as well. For sacks, Jonathan Grenard 2 sacks on the day, one of them being a safety in the end zone. We'll get to that in a second. But interceptions, 1 for Chris Harris Jr., 1 for Jalen Johnson, and I believe there's another one, but it's not coming up here. That's okay, though. Let's go for pass deflections. There we go. So that Chris Harris interception was purely a product of the CJ Gardner-Johnson deflection. He came in out of nowhere when there was a one-on-one coverage. He tapped that ball down straight to Chris Harris' hands to get him the interception, get us the ball back, preventing a touchdown. So that was huge for us. Forced fumbles. We had 1 for Roquan Smith by Mechie on the goal line, which is one of those mistakes as a rookie. You can't have it, but obviously rookies are going to make those mistakes. And Jonathan Grenard, he stepped up big. He got us the strip sack near the end of the half, and near the end of the first half, to get us the possession back. Let us get up by another field goal. So that was very nice. Obviously, fumble recovery. 1 recovered by Robert Quinn, and 1 of them recovered by Rasheem Green. Blocked kicks. Derek Stingley Jr. got very close on one of those kicks, but he unfortunately did not get it. Safety count, like we said, Jonathan Grenard got us that safety, those 2 points and the ball back. That was huge. And then real quick, we're going to go through the rest of it. Kicking, both kickers were perfect on the day. 2 for 2 for us, 1 for 1 for him. Extra points, they were all good. Punting, nothing crazy. Nothing to write home about. I will say Cameron Johnson, beautiful punt that sat down on the 2-yard line. We'll take that any day of the week. Kick returning, nothing special, and punt returning, nothing special either. And now it's time for us to start taking a look around the league to see what happened this week for all the teams in our division and who we're going up against next week. And actually, before we do that, we actually have a detour that I want to check out. Obviously, we just talked about it with Deshaun Jackson stepping up this week. We did ship out Brandin Cooks. We got Jerome Baker in return, who had a few good plays. He definitely helped us lock down the middle of the field on defense. But we have to talk about where Brandin Cooks went. He went to the Miami Dolphins. They unfortunately lost to the AFC favorites, the Buffalo Bills, 45-21. And let's take a look, see what his production was in the receiving game. Let's go to the Dolphins. Brandin Cooks, a solid day, 6 for 66, 11 yards, fresh into the system. Honestly, I don't think he can be mad about that. Let's take a look at passing in total for the team. It was just Teddy Bridgewater. He had 297, 1 touchdown, 3 picks. Sounds like Teddy just wasn't making smart decisions with the ball. Tua, it looks like he's either riding the bench or maybe hurt or something, but just unfortunate. Maybe he can turn it around for them. We still wish him success, obviously, because I don't think we're winning the bowl, but who knows? We started 3-0, so you never really know. Next team we're going to talk about, our division rivals, the Indianapolis Colts. We beat them in week 1. They got a comeback win in week 2. And here we talked about it during halftime of our game. They had another comeback win against Kansas City at home. They rallied late to get up 27-24. When we were at halftime, obviously we're looking at it now, they were down 21-7. They answered back in the third quarter, getting 14 straight, leaving KC scoreless. That KC picked up a field goal in the fourth quarter, but it looks like that Indianapolis picked up 2 more to round off the game, have them win 27-24. On the back of a great recovery performance from Matthew Ryan, he threw 2 touchdowns in that second half. And also, I believe it was Michael Pittman Jr. Yes, he stepped up, got 130 yards, 14.4 a carry, and obviously that 1 touchdown, one of them was his. The other game we got to talk about, the Las Vegas Raiders and Tennessee Titans went to town. Tennessee being one of our division rivals, and Tennessee, they lost a game. They lost another. They went down 24-21. And looking at the stats here, it looks like Derrick Henry just wasn't able to get going. They locked him down very well. Passing game was going off, but a close game, unfortunately. They just couldn't pull it out in the end. And this is actually a twofold one for us. Obviously, we can look at our division rival, the Jacksonville Jaguars, but we can also take a look at our opponent coming up in this next week, the Los Angeles Chargers. So let's just cover this game first. Looks like the Chargers won 41-25. Some very interesting scores here. And it looks like the rushing games are pretty even. Passing yards looks like they got a little bit over there. It looks like, am I seeing where the division and these teams were? Jacksonville had 3 turnovers. Chargers had none. So that's a big one. Chargers did whatever they had to make conversions. The Jacksonville actually had a 2-point conversion at some point in this game. So that's something of note. And it looks like Chargers had a little bit more of the ball. Let's give player stats. Obviously, Justin Herbert, their quarterback, this is what happened. He threw for 313 yards and 5 touchdowns. That is scary to see as we have to go up against him coming off that super hot game. No interceptions. Trevor Lawrence, on the other hand, he had 287 for 2 touchdowns, 3 picks. Young QB, things are going to happen like that, but solid game nonetheless. James Robinson had 16 carries, 56 yards, 3.5 a carry, and 1 touchdown. And then Austin Eckler, he had 13 of 52, 4 carries. Nothing crazy there. Herbert scrambled, even with all those touchdowns. He did scramble 6 times for 17 yards. Trevor Lawrence scrambled 5 times for 16 yards. And the receiving game, anybody stand out? They did. Marvin Jones Jr. had most of the catches for his team. 10 catches, 168 yards. No touchdowns on the day. Eric Ebron, the tight end, had 11 for 117. He had 3 of those touchdowns for Justin Herbert. Keenan Allen had 7 for 86 and a touchdown. Jalen Gayton had 3 for 68. Then the other touchdown, this is for Jacksonville. Laviska Shenault Jr. had 1 of the touchdowns. Christian Kirk had 1 of the touchdowns. And for the Chargers, the last touchdown went to the longtime Charger, Mike Williams. For this defense, Khalil Mack, I forgot he was on the Chargers coming over from the Bears a few years ago. He had a sack on the day. Let's see, with these interceptions, 1 for Alohi Gilman, 1 for Bryce Callahan, and 1 for Derwin James Jr. So this is looking like a scary, scary game, but we're also hot as well. We're coming off of 3 straight wins when no one thought we were going to have any success with this year. So honestly, we can't be scared. We got to keep pushing no matter what. Now, before we get into anything going on about this week, about things coming up, we have something to look at. Apparently, one of our D-linemen wants to have a word with us. Let's go check it out now. Jonathan Grenard said, "Coach, I feel like I'm on the verge of a breakthrough, man. You see me last week. I had that quarterback running scared on a couple plays. I want to be one of those guys who can do that every week. I'm ready to take the next step, so let's bring it to the Bolts this week." Okay. Hold the Chargers to less than 100 rushing yards or get Jonathan Grenard 1 interception, forced fumble, tackle for loss, sack. He just needs 1 of them. So that's looking promising. I would love to see us get that for him. And I can't wait to see what comes out of that. Now is our time to get back to the renegotiations on some contracts. Let's start with Andy Janovich. We didn't see a lot out of him last week. I think he was worried about the bonus, so I think we should just up that a little bit to make another offer. The team doesn't have what I'm looking for, and with that money, I wouldn't reconsider. Okay, so we got to keep upping it. That's okay, though. Obviously, he's a fullback. We don't want to break the bank on a guy like that, but that's fine. Marlon Mack, it's been huge. Just huge last week. We really saw his value. He's 26. He's a solid running back. I don't know how well he's going to hold up over time. Let's up this bonus a little bit. Let's make it 1.5. See if he takes that. I'm excited to sign such a great offer. Stay with this team. We love to see that. We keep Marlon Mack on the team. He can also be used as a trade piece if he keeps his good production up. All right, our next guy up is Kamu Grugier-Hill. He's not amazing by any means, but he's still one of our better linebackers on the outside. So we're gonna go with team-friendly deal. See if he'll take this. There's just not a lot to work with here. Let's see if he'll take it. Real poor effort on this contract. Come back with something much better. Obviously, we're low-balling him. We're gonna have to work with it. But that offer, we can still work with that. Obviously, we're still working with Janovich. And it looks like we have a few more coming up down the line, but that's for us to worry about then. Now that we've looked over all that stuff about last week's performances from different teams, we saw what happened around the league, we saw what we did. Now it's time to look ahead to the future, and it's time for us to address who we will be seeing in this next week. And first, that involves us seeing who we're not going to be seeing this week as we take on the LA Chargers. So a huge advantage for us. Unfortunately for them, their all-pro left outside linebacker, Joey Bosa, he is out with a torn labrum, and it looks like he'll probably be back next week, but he will not be there for our game. Trey McKitty for them, a backup tight end, he has a dislocated wrist. He won't be there. They also signed Odell, who is still recovering from that ACL tear. That'll be huge for them when he comes back, but we do not have to deal with him now, so we love that for us. Now that we've seen the injuries, let's talk about who is going to be on the field for going up against us next week. Obviously, we already talked about Justin Herbert, the amazing player they got here. Young, he's coming off a 5-touchdown performance, so he is going to be hot, ready. Says he was an award winner last year, so it's probably an offensive player of the year, if I remember correctly. Let's go to their halfback. Obviously, they got Austin Eckler, a fantasy demon, but this is not fantasy football, so hopefully we can make a stop to him. Fullback, nothing to worry about there. Receivers, Keenan Allen is huge for them. Mike Williams, long time been around. Jalen Guyton. Obviously, we talked about we don't have to worry about Odell Beckham, but when he comes back, he'll be huge for them. Eric Ebron at the tight end position, backed up by Gerald Everett. The O-line, if there's anything special, we'll talk about it. Rashawn Slater's solid. Corey Linsley, a very good center for them. Brian Bullock is solid as well. So an okay offensive line. The defensive end, Sebastian Joseph Day. At the right end, Morgan Fox. The D tackle is Austin Johnson, backed up by Christian Covington. The linebacker positions, obviously, we talked about it. Khalil Mack is filling on the left side while Joey Bosa's out. Up the middle, they got Drew Tranquil and Kenneth Murray Jr. On the right side, they got Kyle Van Noy. At the corner positions, they have J.C. Jackson, they have Bryce Callahan, and they have Asante Samuel. So some solid corners. Free safety, they got Nasir Adelaide. Strong safety, they have the all-pro Derwin James Jr. At kicker, they got Dustin Hopkins. At punter, they got Justin Scott. Returning for them is Joe Reed for kicks and punts. And yeah, so I think our move is very interesting. And we have a very challenging test ahead of us. So let's see what we decide to do with that. So obviously, we saw last week that they are amazing at passing the ball. Justin Herbert to be able to pick up 5 touchdowns last week. We have to shut that down. And honestly, he could probably throw it anywhere. So we're going to decide on settling for defending the medium pass. That'll also keep us close enough to the line to help out with a little bit of run support. But defending the medium pass is going to be our game plan for offense. And let's figure out what we're going to do for defense. And I think we have to go with what's been working for us. We're going to keep our game plan about running the ball. Obviously, Davis Mills isn't one of our strengths, and both of our running backs showed out last week. So if we want any hope, we're going to have to have this work for us. So we're going to go with the run inside this time, so that way we can use our O-lineman, but we don't have to worry about going outside with Mac, as he's going to be switching left and right. We can try and go good up that middle, because their D-line isn't great, and their middle linebackers aren't that great as well. So that's something. Our coaches have submitted their goals they want to see us hit this week, and we want to go over them here. Coach Lovie Smith has said he wants us to win the turnover battle, and that has to be huge. If we have any chance of winning this game with all the talent they have, we cannot be turning the ball over, and we need to let them make those mistakes. That's going to be huge for us. Our offensive coordinator, he wants to see 300 plus offensive yards. We know they're high powered, and if we want to be able to have a chance in this game, we have to keep up with them. On defense, they're going to put up points though. We have to be real about that. He's going to say allow 24 points or less. Basically, just don't let them get over 3 touchdowns. If we can do that, we'll probably have a good shot at this game. And I've said, let's get an interception. If we're going to work with what Coach Lovie Smith said about winning the turnover battle, we got to get turnovers. And one of them is going to be getting interceptions. We have to capitalize on Justin Herbert. He's got to make a mistake at least once. We have to be there for that mistake. We've just finished up practice for the week, and we want to talk about some improvements that we've seen. First off, we need to talk about Derek Stingley Jr. In practice this week, we saw he was much better with his awareness, and we saw him improve in man coverage, which is going to be huge for him, as we have him as the number 2 right now. But Chris Harris won't be around forever, and he could be a key number 1 for us, and we need him to be able to match up one-on-one and man-to-man against their number 1 receivers. So that was a huge upgrade for him. We saw some improvement from Kenyon Green. He got much better with his awareness. His lead block even improved, and we even saw improvement in his run block. So that's awesome to see out of him. A key rookie left guard for us. We're hoping he can continue to step up, stand out, be great. We also saw some improvement from Titus Howard. Somebody I also want to focus on here, we saw a lot of improvement from Tremon Smith, our return man. He's not getting a lot of snaps on defense, if any, every week, but he improved with his awareness and zone coverage. He's continuing to work, and he's continuing to get into the team however he can. Before we check out today, we're also going to reload our practice squad, because it's gotten a little thin as of late, as they've just been stolen by other teams that need them. So let's take a look around and see what we can find in free agency to add to the practice squad. And I think the one player that we're going to sign to the practice squad is going to be this Trinity Benson. Honestly, he's not amazing by any means, but he's 6 foot, 180 pounds, and he is a speedster. And honestly, We love Deshaun Jackson. He stepped up this week, but we're not going to have him forever. So even if this isn't a long-term solution, it wouldn't be a bad idea to start looking at really fast wide receivers, see if that could be an option for us. So we're going to sign him to the practice squad, and that's the only addition we're actually going to make to the practice squad. And so everything is done, completed. We are heading in to our week 4 game. We are returning back home to Houston, and I don't know if you guys noticed this yet, but so far we are leading the division at 3-0. Colts are right behind us at 2-1. The Titans and the Jaguars are tied at 1-2. But everybody's hot on our heels. I don't think anybody could have imagined that we'd be in the lead of the division through 3 weeks of the season. But today's going to be our first real super big test. And let's see if we can step up to the plate and make something happen out of this game. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, remember to like, comment, subscribe, turn on those notifications down below, and we'll catch you next time for our week 4 game in Houston, Texas against the Los Angeles Chargers. Catch you guys then.